Now we'll move to Dr. Lee, who is the lead economist and acting coordinator of Innovation and Access to Knowledge Program at the Southcentre. Southcentre needs no introduction in these parts, I think. She has worked at the World Trade Institute in Bern. She's been a consultant for people including the Chinese State Intellectual Property Office, the Chinese State Environmental Protection Administration, and has also worked with the European Commission and the World Health Organization, apparently. So, and she also has a string of publications to her credit. And the forthcoming publication includes "Does Higher Standard of Patent Protection Induce More Innovation in a Developing Country?" With that, Dr. Lee, over to you.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank for the organizer OECD for inviting me to attend this very important forum, and it's a very great pleasure for me to express our views of the innovation and globalization. My presentation will be more focused on the challenges that are facing for the South, particularly. First of all, I'd like to say that innovation is particularly important for the development, but there is a lot of the underlying problems and challenges that we will be facing for the South. So here, my presentation will cover several parts. Briefly, will be the first part will have justification of the IP, innovation and development, and second part will be the problems and challenges of the existing IP policy, because I want to take a more emphasis on the intellectual property policy. What is the higher IP standard, and what's the impact of the higher IP standard on the innovation, the situation. And then we'll have the impact assessment to support what have been argued, and then we'll have some kind of the recommendation. Briefly, what we understand is the justification of the intellectual property policy. Ideally, because of the subject matter of the protection is a knowledge, and because of knowledge has the nature of the information, and within information has the non-exclusivity and non-rarity. So, without the proper the government intervention, we will be likely have the market failure. That's why we need to correct market failure with the kind of the intellectual property policy. And then, on this kind of basis, we will have to force the innovation, and then eventually to lead the development. This is justification of the IP policy. Bear in mind, this is the optimum IP policy instead of the reality in the TRIPS agreement. Secondly, we could see this is the optimal IP policy in a more elaborate term. What we can see is that for the society as a whole, why the underlying reason for having such an IP policy, because of the dynamic gain that we're supposed to, society will benefit from the innovation, will be crossed out by the statute laws, for instance, like monopoly rent, and also like the consumer surplus transfer to the producer surplus, as well as the enforcement costs to be bailed into the entire society. So unless these two types of the costs and the benefit will be met, then the policy will not be, IP policy will not become the ideal one. So this is the underlying logic for the IP policies. And then from the country perspective, it will be important to have a national the boundary to determine what is the ideal policy, a national IP policy for the innovation. But now, currently, because of the international agreement on the place, so there are a lot of problem challenges. That is the deviate from the ideal IP policies. That's what we can see here is that because of the developed country and developing country in a very early stage, or like 10 years back, the TRIPS and the MFA, so we have the TRIPS agreement on the place. And then now what we have been discussing in both the WIPO and WTO and the other forum like FAO, etc., and the CBD, is trying to have such a build a development concept into the TRIPS agreement. And then still what we can see on the other hand is very strong the pose for the TRIPS Plus obligation, and as well as the TRIPS Plus enforcement. And then this is makes the such a deviation from the optimum policy become very spread. So this is the past, present, future, the IP policy trend. And here is kind of the historic the overview of the increasing standard of the IP protection. In the TRIPS agreement, one of the most important provision that is replace the process patent become the product patent. And what we can see in the before 1995, most of the developed countries had very much flexibility to determine whether it's a product patent or product patent. So what we can see here, like France, back in early 1966, there were no such product patent features. The most of countries do have such kind of flexibility, but then since 1995 we lost this kind of flexibility. But in 2005, most of the developed countries had to implement all the TRIPS agreement. And LDC will have a little longer transition period. But overall, there is such a kind of increasing IP standard. And then what we can see is there is shrink of the public domain. From originally had mostly in the public domain, they are now very they limited the public domain remaining. So this is kind of a list of the TRIPS Plus obligation. As a quick review of this one, for instance, there is additional terms of protection, and also to there are a lot of exclusive rights and etc. So this is kind of TRIPS Plus obligation here. I will just have a quick go through here. And meantime, there is another very strong the initiative from the developed countries, TRIPS Plus enforcement. This is go far beyond what is set into the TRIPS agreement. So this kind of the allocation of resources requires go without a kind of the very solid the economic concern. So it will get a very big impact on the local context, particularly for the innovation capacity in the developing countries. So this is kind of problem challenge that's facing in the South. Now here I just provide some kind of impact assessment of comparison between China and India pharmaceutical industries. The reason why we put such a kind of their comparison, their justification is because China and India, as probably most of you know, because of their only limited time of their TRIPS agreement since 1995. For the economists, it's very difficult to make an empirical study because of lack of the data. But because of China, it introduced the higher patent protection early in 1993. And the India is until 2005 have to implement such a high protection particular product patent. So it provides 13 years of the natural experiment to evaluate the impact of this of the high protection of the patent in the local industries, particularly in the pharmaceutical industries. Here I just want to highlight in China is 1993 it's already introduced a product patent which is equivalent to the level of the TRIPS agreement. And in India it is a product patent was introduced in late 2005, and back to 1970s because of the British colony, they had the early experience of the product patent. That's one of the reasons they strongly opposed to have the higher protection on the IP. So this 12 years period provides such the natural comparison. And here I'll just go through very quickly. As we mentioned earlier, the justification between the static loss and dynamic gain is if we assume the dynamic gain from the innovation will be higher, at least higher or equivalent to the static loss. But we can see here is clearly in terms of static loss. On the two sides, one is the pricing. Pricing increase in the pharmaceutical industries is extremely high. For instance, in China, in the surveyed area, it is more than 18 times than the international reference price in the surveyed area. And in India, the price of the pharmaceutical product is very low. It's competitive low in both the absolute term and in the relative term. In terms of another very important angle that is missing in most of the literature is the availability of the pharmaceuticals. What we can see in China is in particularly in the innovator brands, the availability of the growth brand is very limited. In the survey, only one type of the medicine is found here, more than 80% availability, and most of the others are not available. And in India, another important thing is what we can see is in dynamic again. What the dynamic effect we divide into two sets of the aspect. One is on investment, another we can see that in the patent filing, which is not idea the indicator, but it could be provide a sort of the implication. In terms of R&D investment, as our colleague earlier mentioned, China in fact indeed increased this kind of their R&D investment. However, if we look into more details, what is composition of the R&D investment in China, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry, is more focused on the commercialization side. It's more kind of the advertising etc. without really into the discovery and research and that kind of upstream side. So it is not really the reflect the local innovation capacity. And here, what we can see is that China is only like 10.3 to 2% of turnover was invested into the R&D, but in terms of India, it's much higher. Another indicator, although we can see is the patent filing, as mentioned, is not a perfect indicator, but what we can see is India has a much higher patent filing in terms of the pharmaceuticals, and now India is becoming one of the leading their companies, their countries that have the local capacity. But in China, more than 91% of the patent filing in terms of the chemical in the pharmaceutical area are filed by the foreign companies. And the very immediate impact, next impact for the local innovation capacity is local pharmaceutical companies immediately lose the ability to enter into those competition, this kind of the research area. They will immediately receive a notice from the pharmaceutical companies internationally. You are not able to get into such innovation. And then anti-competition is extremely strong in China. So this is one of the negative effects that was missing.
Dr. Lee, can I just interrupt you there? I'd like to come back to the differences and the problems within individual economies, and that is very interesting, the comparison between India and China. Maybe we could come back to that.
Okay, I'll be
very shortly.
In 1 minute. Okay.
Could you just...
Yeah, okay. And then just summarize here. The overall assessment of such a kind of their higher IP protection will be the negative for their national welfare in the particular at this development stage. But here is the overall. I would just have remind what is the innovation. We should be properly understanding what is the balance approach is very very important. So go through there quickly. We should have a balance approach between the producer and consumer. This kind of benefit stakeholder. All the stakeholders should be taken into consideration. And then we should in trying to in terms of international regional dimension, we should try to maintain the flexibility and ensure the optimal IP policies. In terms of national dimension, we should try to strike balance and to between the producer and consumer, static and dynamic, additional market power as well as marginal social benefits. So with this, I just want to conclude. Innovation is very important for the both developed countries and developing countries. And then a proper IP and the policy is very critical in terms of the building up their local innovation capacity. Thank you.